So today we're going to discuss litter box questions and issues with Dr. Jean Hofve, and today is April 17th, 2012. Dr. Hofve, or Dr. Jean, what I like to call you, thank you for doing this, and I figure we'll just start out with the first question. What do you recommend for a litter box starter kit? Like if someone's getting their first cat.
Well, I recommend getting as big a box as to fit the cat. If you're say adopting a big adult cat, a Maine Coon or something, you want a box that's big enough for a big cat to feel comfortable in. And that often is not just a store box litter box. That doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to think outside the box a little bit and get. I like the big Rubbermaid store tubs. Several brands make makes them, and you can get those in any number of sizes and heights. And the box my cats prefer to any other was an underbed storage box. So, it's big, the sides come up about the right height, they can step in and out, and they really like it.
Okay. And what about, what type of litter and do you have a preference of litter scoop?
Scoops, I do have a preference. It's funny because, I don't like very many of the ones I've had. Mm-hmm. I had a great one that was unbreakable, but it sifted too fine. The spaces between the
tines
were too skinny, and it dries the litter into dust. So it didn't last very long. Sometimes the cheap generic scoops are the best. The other thing that works really well is a long-handled spoon, the kind you would dish out vegetables. It's a big, wide spoon that has slats in it for drainage. So, like if you were gonna pull a load of peas out of water, it'd be the kind of scoop you would have for that.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Those work really well. They're metal. They last forever. They're easy to clean. That's a pretty nice solution there. As far as what type of litter, there are so many litters now. I had to go to the store for a friend of mine when she hurt herself doing something, and so I was kind of taking care of her. I think she had elbow surgery, and it was amazing. I walked into the big box pet store, and my mouth hit the floor. I was like, oh my God, because it was walling the whole back wall of the store.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, how do people even choose? I had marching orders, so I could get in and out, but let's say that they fall into three main categories. Clay, and that includes scoopable clay, the Dr. Elsie's type, the really fine Johnny Cat stuff, the chunkier, non-clumping, but anything clay. Then there's the kind of the renewable resource litters like the corn or wheat based. Now there's Blue Buffalo just came out with a litter that's made with walnut hulls. So I'm trying to bag that right now. I'm trying to see how well they like it, and they don't seem to be bothered. I've got a bunch of it mixed in with some of the corn litter. The disadvantage I see is that it makes things hard to see because it's dark.
Yes.
Colored, and it would be hard to track down some of the deposits, shall we say, in a litter that color. It seems to work okay mixing it with the lighter colored litter, but I'm not crazy about the color. That's just a personal observation. It makes it a little harder for me. I think it's probably fine. It seems to be as absorbent as anything else. Then there's really do that. And a lot of times they recommend that for declawed cats post-op. And I can't think of anything dumber than putting giant hard rocks in a litter box and ask a cat that they had surgery to walk on. Of course, we would never. We are dead against decline. So don't anybody get any bright ideas. There is a non-surgical solution to every problem for which we would declaw cats. So it's never necessary. Don't go there.
Yeah.
I used to recommend Sweet Scoop, but they started promoting it for declawing. And when you promote something for declawing, you are promoting declawing. So I don't support that particular company anymore. But there's getting to be so many choices out there.
Yeah. Is there, as far as choices are concerned, if you're adopting a kitten compared to a cat, are there certain litters that you would recommend more over for a kitten than you would a cat?
Yeah, I would use a good clumping litter because kittens have a tendency to tromp through pretty much anything, and if they've got furry feet, that can track a lot of litter around, and they can also get bits of used litter on their feet, which they will lick off. So you want to make sure that that you keep boxes really, really clean, especially for kids. And I think any of the softer clumping litters would be fine.
Okay.
For a young cat.
Okay. One of the most common problems that I hear about is a cat peeing in the litter box but pooping outside of it. Have you ever heard of that? And if so, what sort of solutions have worked that you know?
If the cat wants 2 litter boxes, give 2 litter boxes. This is not the litter box size and placement and style is not really up to you. It's up to your cat. If your cat doesn't like the box or where you put it or what's going on, you're the one who's going to be sorry.
Yep.
So you have to let the cat choose. Now, if they want to pee and want to poop in another, that may mean that there's something about that litter box that's too small or it's not in the right place. The experts recommend 1 box per cat plus 1. So even a cat household, you may very well need 2 boxes. And especially if you have an older cat and you have a multi-level house, then you have to have a litter box on each floor. Because, if you were 80 and somebody said, you got to use the outhouse, Grandma.
Yeah.
I'd say, I'm fine right here on this couch. Yeah. So, we have to bow to the cat's choice. They're the ones that are going to determine where the final, because it has to meet with their approval. Otherwise, you're going to have way worse issues. The other thing that works sometimes with these pee in one, poop in another is the box just isn't big enough. And I like those giant Rubbermaid tubs. If you have an older cat, you can cut a hole out of one end so that they have a little entryway.
Yeah.
But the higher sides often keep things more confined, and if it's a big enough box, they may go ahead and say that's fine. And it keeps them from kicking litter from hither to yon, which is always an advantage.
Yeah. I agree with that one.
Yeah, my partner Jackson recommends getting a real live garbage can, like a plastic garbage can, and cutting a hole for the cat to enter and exit. That seems a little overkill to me because those Rubbermaid boxes and all the other, I don't mean to promote Rubbermaid all that much, but they were the first ones that came out with those storage tubs, and I think that actually their plastic is a little easier to keep clean. It doesn't sort of smell as badly as some of the other ones, so I guess I do want to promote them after all.
Well, speaking of absorbing smells and that sort of thing. I, did an interview once upon a time with Dr. Elsie, and I think he suggested, I'd have to look back at the interview, but changing out the plastic litter boxes at least once a year or every 2 years.
Yeah, I would say so, because they do tend to start holding smells after a while, because if the cat is scratching in it, it's making little abrasions, little scratch marks in the bottom of the box, and that can eventually start to get pretty stinky. Now there's a couple things you got to remember about litter boxes though, and one is that kind of the older and more used they are, sometimes the more the cat likes it, because box is a scent haven. It's where they can most clearly say, this spot is mine.
Okay.
And so some cats get really confused and disoriented when you litter box, or if you clean it too good, or if you clean it so there's not one iota of their smell left in it. They don't necessarily like that so much. So it's a very, if you have an issue with territorial peeing or pooping, you might want to think twice before you go on a cleaning binge. Now, of course, cleanliness is extremely important, but I quit using bleach and some of those things that really altered the smell in favor of just soap and having, and maybe if it's really skanky, spritz a little bit of urine deodorizer over it, but not try and completely eradicate their smell, because there's something comforting about their own smell being in a place. And if cats start urinating outside the box, they will always go back to that place as long as there's a smell there. Well, hey, let's establish the smell inside the box and let them go there. That's really how they're hardwired what to do. So we can work with those instincts, and we can really work against them and screw things up.
Okay. So what do you recommend? What sort of products do you recommend to clean a litter box so that you're not eliminating everything, but you're also helping the human nose not suffer?
Yeah. Well, you do want to clean it, and just regular soap and water. The less scented, the better. For a long time, I used Mr. Clean, just because I had it handy. And, of course, it's best to use a more holistic cleaner, a cleaner that's eco-friendly, like 7th generation, so
right.
Something like that. You want to, you're going to use a lot of it over the lifetime of that litter box. So, you try and get something relatively eco-friendly and something that rinses off really well.
Okay.
Not all soaps will rinse really well, so you have to keep that in mind. For smell control, I'm in love with this stuff called Zero Odor. Dr. Nick Dodman introduced that to me, and it's really interesting. And I've been using it for years, of course, and now I finally read the directions like last week, and it's good for any kind of odor. I have used it in the trash cans when it's too cold outside to go and wash the thing out, then at least I can damp down the smell. It's really good for, diaper pails, any of that nature of thing that you've got.
Okay.
And he says spray it on the new litter when you fill up the box, and it will repel and disintegrate smells as the cat uses it. And you can spray it just in the air above it, so then you're not really interfering with what the cat is smelling down on the litter, but it clears out the air over the box completely. And, I have 2 litter boxes here in my office. If I were more flexible, I could lean over and touch them.
Mm-hmm.
But I very rarely have a problem, unless it's very fresh and somebody bailed before they covered it up. I don't have a lot of odor with these boxes in here, which is, it's a small room. So I've been very pleased with that stuff. I also like FON or PON, which is puppy or feline odor neutralizer. They're the exact same thing, different bottles. Nature's Miracle, I don't know very many people that like that.
I agree.
With this one, anti-icky poo and, stink off or something, there's some products with pretty funny names, that are actually quite good. So, experiment around. Another one I like a lot is called XO, just a big X-O. And it does leave a little odor for a few minutes. So you've gotten the spot because it puts on its own odor, and then the whole thing disintegrates in a few minutes. So that's a really good one too.
Okay. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that cat owners make about litter and litter boxes that end up causes improper elimination?
Well, there are a lot. There are a lot of mistakes you can make, and I think people have made every single one of them. If you don't put the litter box in a place where the cat will use it, I've heard lots of stories where people had a utility room and they put the box out in the utility room, and the cat was in the box and the buzzer on the dryer went off. While the cat was 3 inches away from it. Most cats will not go back and use that box ever.
Right.
So you have to think about, it's a nice quiet room right now, but what happens in here? Does the washer spin cycle shake the room to pieces? The cat's not going to use that box. Does the whole family live upstairs and the cat box is in the basement? Cat's not likely to go to that trouble.
Yeah.
I tried to move the litter box out into the garage once. I had younger cats at that time, and I thought, well, okay, the weather's a little better. We can just put a cat door in the garage door, and they can go out there. Well, so the next thing that happened was I woke up to see my cat peeing on me in the bed.
Oof.
So that was obviously not a hit.
Yeah.
That litter box placement was a no-go. And so I had to move it back into the bedroom, and I was happy with that because the alternative was pretty bad.
Yeah, I'd say.
They definitely let you know when something's not right. If the box isn't right, they won't use it. I think cleanliness is the biggest mistake. I mean, I caution you against being too clean, but being not clean enough is clearly the number one reason why cats won't use a box.
Right.
If you think that about the last time you were on a hike on a really hot day, you got back to the end of the trail, and there was a wretched, disgusting outhouse. Well, you were probably going to hold it for a really long time before you went in there.
Right.
Or you were going to find a convenient tree or bush, and your cat is not going to react any nicer to a stinky, rotten litter box than you would to a stinky, rotten outhouse.
Yeah.
So, you think about it. The cat does everything with its feet, and it licks its feet. And, the nose of your average cat is about 4 inches up above that litter. So when your cat goes in and digs around in that and, wafts that delectable smell towards their nose, I mean, if it's gross, they're not going to go there. And they're going to say, dude, this is not acceptable. Just not acceptable conditions. I see a lot of problems with the litter box liners because cats will snag their claws on them, and they don't like that experience either. They don't like getting caught on something in there. And the other big mistake is having a lid on the box that makes you forget about cleaning the box.
Yes.
And that's probably your number one, because now your nose is 4 inches from the litter, and you shut the door on the outhouse, so all that stink is confined in that one little place. I actually said to a client once, I said, well, tell me about your litter box cleanliness. He said, well, could be better, I guess. And I said, well, be your cat. I said, you pretend you're a cat, and you get down there and you put your nose 4 inches away and put your bare hand in there and rummage around in there. And if you won't do it, why should your cat?
Yeah.
So it's got to be clean enough for you to stick your hand in. I'm the truth. That's, because you can wash your hands, but if it's way too gross to even think about it, then it's too gross for your cat.
I agree. I work from home, so I have the capability of scooping the litter boxes several times a day. But what do you recommend as far as like minimum amount of scooping?
Minimum once a day.
Okay.
I mean, you can't be that lazy.
Yeah.
Occasionally, that something's going to come up and it's just not going to be done. Well, if you were on an every other day schedule, then not doing it for a day makes a huge problem. So plan to scoop every day. If once in a while you don't get to it, then it's not a lost cause. But if it gets too gross, you're going to end up with a bigger mess, and you're going to have to change out the litter, and you're going to have to wash the box, and save yourself in the long run. Yeah, it takes 2 minutes. We'd just rather spend 10 tomorrow, than 2 minutes today. It's just all a matter of common sense, really, Jenny.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to ask I don't have a cat type questions. What kind of litter do you use?
I use World's Best. It's made from corn. There are a number of copycats coming on the market, and I've tried them, and they're fine. I like the corn-based litter for a few reasons. And one is that it's obviously very sustainable. We have corn in this country, then we know what to do with. And to have a product like this that's going to be useful, it's already recycled by the time it gets to you. You're going to recycle it one more time before it's done. I like the plant-based one. I am really not a fan of clay for several reasons. Now, the first reason is that everybody's read the internet rumor about a cat ingesting too much litter and getting a blockage in his intestines. And that there is one case report like that. And in that case, the cat consumed a lot of the clay litter. I think it was the Maine Cooney. It got stuck on his feet. And he consumed quite a bit. I think he may have been freestyling in the litter too, and just eating the litter. Some cats will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially kittens, they're curious. They get it all over their face, and and this cat did just develop a blockage that had to be surgically removed. And they didn't like that, and they changed back. The cat ate another bunch of the litter. Came in for another blockage. The owner said, "Oh, screw this, euthanize the cat."
Whoa.
Yeah, seriously. So that's the only case I know where litter killed the cat, but it's only because the owners were too stupid, and I will refer to them as owners and not guardians, because they certainly did not do right by that cat.
Gosh, no.
They were the worst sort of idiots. So I'm not fond of clay also because it's dusty, and of course all litters are dusty to some extent. I mean, I have a fine layer of corn dust over a few things near the litter boxes, but it's the character of the dust, and it's the clay litter is silicon based. Silica is a very abundant element, and silica fragments are very sharp, and when that dust gets into the lungs, it can really cause problems. And I have seen a lot of asthma related to clay litter, and especially the finer clay litters. And the other thing is that it's not a renewable resource. The clay is mined, it's strip mined, if you will, and it's environmentally devastating, and I just don't think it's that healthy for a cat. I'm hoping to move people to the renewable resources, to the stuff that's left over anyway, and let's make a use of it. Let's not tear up half of Kentucky to get to it.
Right. So, when the World's Best Cat Litter, I know that they have a green bag, a red bag, and a purple bag. The red bag is their multi-cat, and the purple bag is the lavender. Which one of and I think green's original, which one of those three do you use?
I have tried them all. I use the red. It's the multi-cat.
Okay.
And I don't know why it's different from the not multi-cat, but it is, because I have a mental block against the red. I'm not colorblind or anything, but I like the green better, so every once in a while I buy a bag of green by mistake, and I'm sorry every time.
So I think that's funny, because I would be sorry too.
I think I would learn, but it's just such a pretty green.
Yes, it is. I mean, they've got a phenomenal marketing agency behind them that does, I think, a great job in just making it very attractive visually. What about allergies? Are there? I mean, I know that cats are allergic to corn, so
it's so rare.
Okay.
It really is. And some cats will eat this litter, because what this litter is chicken feed. And a lot of people have bought chick starter and put it in their litter box. And I know cats that have been poisoned that way, because then they do eat the litter, and it's got stuff in it. You know, they can get overdoses of minerals. They can get. I know one cat in particular that came in, and she confessed she was getting chick starter, and I made her bring in the bag, and it had amprolium in it, which is an antibiotic. Now, that's not something you want your cat walking around in, and then taking his little stinky feet and walking on you and patting your face with amprolium. Come on. So, cat poop, I understand that there's layered cat poop over everything in my house. That's the reality of it.
Right.
But antibiotic-laden cat poop, it just sounds so much worse to me.
Yeah. Ugh. I didn't know about that. That kind of freaks me out.
You get what you pay for. And this stuff is more expensive. Now there's some generics coming out that are going to be cheaper. But if I could find where the feed mills are getting their chicken feed before they add the vitamins, the minerals, and all the other junk that they put in it, that'd be a great source. If I lived in Kansas, I could probably pull that off. But I'm really happy to go down to the store and lay down for this stuff, because it works. And I'll tell you, this stuff is dusty too. But when I switched to this litter, my asthma cleared up about 99%.
Wow.
I was only scooping once a day, and I wasn't spending all that time in the dust that cats were. So that really convinced me that clay litter it's 2012. It's the 21st century. It's maybe the end of the world, but get your cat some decent litter. And I have to say, my very favorite litter is a half and half, half scooping clay and half world's best. I like the texture; it clumps a little better, but I don't want that clay in my house.
Yeah.
And the reason I know that is because I periodically go to the store and I buy 10 kinds of litter, and so my cats are the test subjects. I just did that last year, and when I got to that 50-50 mix, I thought, I really do like that, but it isn't good for them, so I won't do it.
Yeah. I've done that before. I mean, when I tried World's Best Cat Litter on my cats, it's my understanding that the best way to go about switching litters is to do a fourth of the new with 3/4 of the old, and then the next week half and half, and then the third week
75. Yeah, it's not that precise. When I start them on a new litter, I put just like a half a cup.
Oh. Of the new litter?
Yeah, and I stir it in just a little bit.
Okay.
I go very gradually with the cats.
Okay.
Now my cats have had this done to them so often that I can come in and put a new litter down and they'll use it.
Yep, mine too.
But if you have a cat that's really stuck on one thing, they still fuss the eater, he doesn't like his life interrupted or rearranged at all, just do it really gradually. I mean, what's your hurry?
Right.
It's just let the cat dictate your pace. Maybe you want to put a cup of the ideas into it. You have to experiment around. When you have cats that are peeing outside the box, pay attention to what kind of surface they're peeing on, and so if they're peeing on something that's really soft, like the middle of your bed, then you're definitely going to want to go with the fine grind clumping litter. Then you may need to go with a clay litter temporarily, because clay litters they can grind them down finer, and they are a little softer on the little paw pads. So you got to experiment. I've done the litter smorgasbord more times than I can count, and like I thought those litter pearls were a really cool idea, that they would absorb the urine right into the little balls and then lock it away. But I couldn't imagine the cats walking on that. And sure enough, the adult cats wouldn't have anything to do with it, and the kids just wanted to play in it because there were all these little balls.
Right. That's hilarious. What's the deal with pregnant women and scooping litter boxes?
Well, pregnant women had to have help getting there, so that help ought to be doing the litter boxes. What the skinny is about it is that it's actually pretty safe if you're paying attention. The reason is toxoplasma, which is an amoeba type parasite, and the cats that are exposed to it will shed it in their feces for about 3 weeks. Now, if your cat's never gone outdoors, never eaten raw meat, you have no worries. If the cat is eating raw meat or is out hunting, then you do have to worry. But you have to understand the life cycle of this thing. And the cat will only shed it once in its lifetime, and that's only with an acute infection. And even when those cysts are coming out in the poop, they're not infected. It takes 24 to 48 hours for them to become infectious. So if you scoop daily and don't let the poop sit in there more than 24 hours, you're never going to have a problem. Yeah. But if you're paranoid, wear a mask and wash your hands. If you're really paranoid, go get yourself tested for toxoplasma antibodies, because 40% of us have them.
Okay.
And if you have already been exposed, then it isn't a problem. It's only a problem in the first trimester with a new exposure to a woman that's never been exposed before, which if you've ever gardened or eaten steak tartare, you have. So, it's a terrible consequence if you screw up, because it causes severe birth defects. But it's a short exposure window, and and if you're diligent about cleaning the box, there's no problem. You can't get it.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know all those details. That's really interesting.
It's a fascinating little bug, Pretty smart little bug. But, it's everywhere in the environment. I mean, I think more women are exposed to it through eating undercooked meat than ever through cats.
Okay.
So it's in the dirt. I mean, maybe it's because 85 generations of cats have pooped in the dirt, but I think pretty much you can count on it being on any dirt on the planet. You can count on there being toxoplasma cysts. So, it was a little bit of reasonable caution. And the problem is that women don't necessarily know they're pregnant for most of the first trimester. So it's a good habit to always scoop daily, and then you will never have a problem.
Okay. Another reason why you should scoop daily.
Well, very good reasons, yeah.
Yes. Is there any sort of, for example, I brush my cat's teeth, and I always brush them after I brush mine, so that it's a routine and I always know and remember to do it. Can you think of a scenario, or have you ever suggested to clients that forget to scoop their litter box some sort of reminder that they do on a daily basis anyway?
Well, that's a good thought. I would think cat pee pee on your pillow would probably be a really good reminder. And you shouldn't have to learn that one more than once.
Right.
But I've had people that have had problems with, just in the general litter box purview, the cat poops on the bathroom rug next to it. Well, then look for something that's the texture of the bathroom rug. Or, I had a cat and you put down a rug anywhere and she would pee on it. It was a pee magnet. What did I do? I stopped putting rugs down. So people say, well, he pees on my laundry. Where's your laundry? On the floor. Pick up your laundry.
Yeah.
We bring these animals into our lives, but we have to honor their spirit and we have to honor their methods of communication, and we have to follow their rules if we want everybody to get along. If you're not willing to go that little distance, maybe you should get a goldfish.
Yeah. I recently interviewed Dr. Temple Grandin, and one of the most memorable things about that interview for me was that she said that cats are very sensory-based animals, so if you're having a problem with them, you really hone in on the smells, the feels, the sounds, because all of that is going to affect the behavior. So, you've already said all that. Find a litter that's similar to what they're peeing on, because that's a touch sense. And then if there's issues with peeing outside the litter box, then maybe it's not clean, so that's a smell issue. And then you've got the sound issue that you described with the buzzer going off on the dryer, for example. So yeah, I feel like
you really have to look at it, and that's what my partner Jackson Galaxy is so brilliant at. He can really look at things from the cat's eye view and see. Temple Grandin does this too. She looks at things from the animal's point of view, and she can see what the problems are because she sees and thinks like the animal.
Yes.
Now, I happen to disagree with almost everything she says in her chapter about cats.
Really, in the book with the dog on the front, which I can't remember the name of right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
She said a lot of annoying things about cats, and one of these days I'll write an article refuting the whole thing. But that's it, because she said she did research by asking people who had cats. Well, people who have cats are not a good source of information because most people who have cats don't really understand the cat.
Correct.
The cat makes tremendous concessions to get along with us, really. The least we can do is try and see it from their point of view and see, if they're spraying around doors and windows, well, then you have a problem outside that the cat's responding to. Maybe you have a mountain lion walking through your yard or something. In my neighborhood, that's entirely possible.
Right. Not in mine.
I'm in bloody downtown Denver, and we had a lion sighted 10 blocks from here. So, this is dead smack middle of the city, and so no matter where you are, you're in Los Angeles or New York, you think you don't have coyotes and things walking around. Wrong.
Yeah.
So, some cats are very protective, and they see an unusual animal or even just another cat pass by their vision. They're going to batten down the hatches and reinforce all their defenses, which is spray everything in sight.
Right.
That cat tries to come in, he's going to run smack into a wall of my pee, and that's going to be the end of it. That's their thought process. You have to look at it from their, they're very territorial, and, the litter box is often an issue of contention in most cat homes. So you just have to have lots of litter boxes all over the place. I have one shy cat and 3 other cats, and 2 of whom are bullies. And so she has to have a litter box close to her refuge where she hangs out, which is on the chair behind my desk. But she needs to know she's not going to be ambushed. So she needs that box in the middle of the freaking room, which it is. and with a wide view of anybody coming, and that's her preference. The boys prefer the one that's under the dining room table because it's got a screen. If the tablecloth hangs down, we don't eat at that table, by the way. Don't worry. But they like it because it is a little more private and sheltered, and they seem to like that better. It's how the cat was raised as a kitten. Two of mine were in a house for the first 8 weeks, and the other two were born feral. So their early experiences around elimination are going to be very different.
Yeah.
So you have to look at all of that. It's just, you try and think like a cat. Try and get behind their eyes and look at it from their, get one of those little cameras, put it on their collar so you can see the cat sniffing the litter and walking away. You got a problem.
Yeah. That's true.
You have to see things from their point of view, and you have to think of things from the standpoint of they are predators, but they are also prey. They're small, and owls and eagles and foxes and coyotes and bears will all snack on a cat.
Right.
There's not that there's that many lions and tigers and bears in the neighborhood, but that's how they think. They have to be thinking like a prey animal. So if something disturbs them at the moment when they're doing their due diligence, then that can be a huge disruption and cause the cat never to go back to that box. So even with just one cat, it's not a bad idea to have a second backup.
Okay.
Just in case.
Right.
And for some cats, it's going to have to be in the middle of the bedroom, and that's just how it is. And for some cats, it's going to have to be in the kitchen. That's just how it is. Get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cat's the final determiner. You can try lots of things to change their minds, and I encourage you to do so, but what they decide is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. That pretty much sums up the questions that I had. Is there something that I should have asked you that I forgot to?
Let's talk a minute about the newfangled litter boxes, like Litter Maid and the mechanical boxes.
Okay.
Someone sent me one to try. It's called Litter Spinner, and it's very clever. It looks like a big fat tire, and it has the scoop is built in, so you turn the box around a few times, you just rotate it a few times to dislodge the chunks of the bumps, and they will fall into this little catcher, and then you just pull out the catcher and empty it into a bin. You don't have to handle anything. Well, I think it's a great idea. They did figure out that they should have put a second door into the back for cats who are in multi-cat homes that can't be assured of not getting trapped in the box. And the hole is a little small. I have big cats. They'll go in it, but they aren't that keen on it. But the real key is that they've never had a covered litter box.
Yeah.
So this box is not going to go over with cats who aren't used to going into something.
Okay.
They'll use it just as just to be different now and then, but I can see that if it was a little different configurement with the hole in the back so that they could walk through and through, nobody, they can't get cornered in it because there's a back door. I think that'll be a much better product. Litter Maid is another one that, it's a mechanical box. It theoretically waits 10 minutes after the last cat was in it. Well, if you have a lot of cats, it could only be 10 minutes till the next cat is in it, and it has scared a lot of cats. So if you have an only cat, that's probably a great product for you. But if you have multiple cats, I can see where it could cause some problems. There's a new one called Genie or something that's...
Yeah, Cat Genie.
Yeah, it hooks to your toilet. In practical terms, I have not heard good reviews of that, but I have not tried it. So it looks like a fabulous idea, but it's up to the cat.
Right.
Okay. Always up to the cat.
Now, something about the litter spinner and litter robot that has not made me attracted to them is the idea of what they're walking into, because it spins, is now coded in everything, rather than it being, at least clean on the top. Like, if you have a covered litter box, more times than not, I think, compared to a spinning one, it would be cleaner on the top than it would, in the actual litter part of it. Am I making sense visually?
Yeah, you are, but I'm not seeing that as a problem with this thing, because only the dust is going to cling to the plastic surface, and that's going to be in anything that a cat digs in. It's going to create just as much dust.
Okay.
I'm more concerned about the size and the accessibility.
Okay. Yeah, I absolutely agree on the size. I thought about something else to ask you. Oh, it escaped me now.
And these guys say they have 20-pound cats using this, but my 16-pounder won't go in it. But in fact, the only cat that will go in it is the short-haired cat.
Okay.
Well, that may tell us something right there.
Yeah. Oh, I know. On the cat genie, you had mentioned, it's connected to the toilet, which then made me think about all of these cat toilet training systems.
Those are terrible.
Like Kitty City. But so I would love for you to talk about that, but also I had read at one point the dangers in putting cat feces in our sewage system.
Yes.
So could you talk on both of those subjects, please?
Because cats use scent as a marker, and they only have a few things about them that smell, they use those bodily excretions, shall we say, to scent mark and to establish. I know people who have multiple cat homes that have done this, but it removes something of the catness of the cat by not being able to really perform its elimination functions in a natural way.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen when these cats get old and arthritic?
Right.
And they can't balance anymore, or it hurts them. When my cats got old, for one thing, they decided that they didn't have to walk all the way to the litter box. That getting within a couple of feet of it was close enough. So, being a crazy cat person, I lived with tarps and newspapers on my floor for a year and a half. Because they were so old, I thought, well, how long is he going to keep doing this? Well, a year and a half. And the other thing that I tried with that is because when they would squat, they wouldn't squat as deep of a squat. They'd only bend their knees just a little bit because it hurt them. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I really fell in love with the storage bins, because you can get them a tall size. And the girls did not have any trouble getting in and out of it, but it kept the urine and the sand and everything else. I don't currently have that type of box, and I find poop spilling over the side. They get all 4 feet in the box. They have an expectation that everything else will be in the box also, but they don't necessarily aim very well. If they're too close to the edge, or there's something. There's always something, And so I fear for those cats, because if they do start to have intercat aggression or behavior problems, they're missing one of their major modes of communication.
Yeah.
So I have a little problem with that. What was the other thing you said?
Cat poop in our sewage system.
Yeah. That has been found to be a serious problem, is that feline diseases are being passed out in the feces through water treatment and getting out into the ocean. And it's making the sea otters sick. Oh. Now, this has got to be more of a problem with cats who go outside and it rains and it goes into storm drains where there's no treatment at all. those are the ones that are dumping directly into the ocean that I think are really the problem. So cats that go outside and feral cats. And it's toxoplasma specifically that's one of the problems. And they only shed that for 3 weeks, but it's in the environment. So, I'm not a big fan of that. I know people that swear by it, but I wouldn't do it to my cats. I'm not that lazy.
Yeah.
It does annoy me that I have to put almost as much money taking poop out of the cat as I did putting the food in the front end. But, I choose to have 4 cats. They're big cats, and they produce a lot of poop, and that's my choice.
Right.
That's what I say is a good life for me. I have 4 cats, 3 litter boxes, in all different places, and they're doing fine with that. Oh, let's talk about litter scatter.
What's that?
Like when they jump out of the box, they for the next 10 feet.
Oh, yeah.
Because I found, now I can't remember the name of it, but I did finally find a mat that does work, and it's kind of when it rolls out, it's like soft tubes kind of sewn together. I'll try and remember, or I'll send you the link later, but it's you can get it even at Target.
Oh, okay.
And they're big, and they are usually in very ugly colors, but they actually really work. And the way they work, watch them, it's very interesting, because the tubes are so soft, they're like foam rubber with a coating on it, and it actually spreads the cat's toes as they walk.
Oh.
So it pulls the litter right out of their feet. And like I said, I have 3 long-haired cats, and yes, a little bit of litter still gets out, but it cut it back by 90%.
Wow.
It's amazing. I love this stuff.
Well, I would definitely like to know what it is, because I'll include it, and I'd like to try it out myself.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them, and I really love them. It made my life so much easier, because that is an issue with this, especially the clumping and finer litters. They're everywhere. They get everywhere.
Yeah.
So this is the only thing I've ever found to work, and they're big enough that you can put the litter box kind of on one edge, and so wherever they get out, they're going to have to walk over some of that stuff, and it's just really been a lifesaver as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I found that when I switched to the storage containers, that the tracking or litter scatter was reduced significantly, because just jumping out of the box, and granted I have young cats, so I know someday I'll have to change that up, but just jumping out of it makes it fall off into the litter box too.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
One thing else I would like to talk about is the depth of the litter. Because all the litter instructions say 2 to 4 inches and stuff. When you have an old arthritic cat, and particularly if it's a declawed cat, now remember, we're never going to declaw in the
Right.
But those declawed cats get arthritic. Their toes get frozen, and their gait is altered for life. It's a terrible thing. But they really hurt, and they get way worse arthritis because their gait is different. And so for older cats and declawed cats, you want maybe an inch or an inch and a half of litter, because what they need is to feel something like solid ground under their paws. And if it's this giant pile of sand or ground up something, they're not going to feel as sure-footed. So if you have an issue where the cat is going on carpet, the thing that's unique to carpet, besides that it's soft, it's firm.
Okay.
So you may want to try less litter in the box instead of more if you've got an arthritic cat or a cat with declaw issues or any kind of injury. It's more stable footing for them to have less litter. So try that with some of these guys. You have to scoop it they can do in a litter box in one go.
Right.
So, you do want to change all the other things that need to be changed around that. But we've had some really good success with cats that were having box problems. And when we got the litter to a level that they liked it and they felt secure, the problem solved.
Yeah. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about
litter
that.
boxes are very complicated. You wouldn't think we could talk for an hour about litter boxes, but here we've done.
Yeah. Well, and I've always been under the impression that the deeper the better. Like, for example, I was scooping the one upstairs today, and the litter had gotten, low, so then the pee is sticking to the bottom of the litter box, and I'm like, ugh, I gotta make this deeper so that it's easier to scoop. But, obviously, again, my cats are young, and they're not declawed, so they're not having that problem, but that is interesting to think of for an older cat.
Yeah, and especially, and that's when you really need the deep litter box, because they're not going to squat very much, and they're going to, go flying right over the side of the short, average kitty box.
Yes. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to mention or add?
Can't think of anything.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to end the interview here.